Hey everyone!
Hey, and welcome to After Hours here at Linda's Electric Quilters.
We have a super easy, fun project to show you. A lot of people have asked us how to put a sleeve on a quilt.
Right.
So we're not going to show you a full-on quilt on blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I know,
That's the way
right?
you're going with it? A blah, blah, blah. Not going with the full-on quilt because it does take a lot of time to put on a sleeve on a larger size quilt. We're going to be doing this on a little tiny baby quilt that I've got put together, a little miniature wall hanging.
Exactly.
Which you might also want to put a sleeve on that as well. We're both getting tongue-tied tonight.
Tongue-tied. Well, the idea came because we were showing this a couple weeks ago with the rod and stuff, and a lot of people was like, well, how can I put a sleeve on there?
Right.
So Corey's like, you know what, let's show them how to put a sleeve on there. So even though we're only showing it on a small project tonight, you can use the same theory, same technique to put it on anything that you want to put it on.
Definitely.
Alrighty.
All right, so let's go ahead overhead and take a look at doing just that. So I'm going to roll that out of the way so you can have that one. And this is the little guy that we are going to be working with tonight. So whenever you're figuring out what where you want to put your quilt sleeve, first make sure you know where the exact top of the quilt is, if it's a directional one. But you want to get the exact width measurement of this. And so you want to, if you have your binding on already, include that in your exact width.
Exactly. Some people will put on the quilt hanger before they bind or as they're binding. So everybody does, you know how it is. There's like 20,000 things.
80,000 ways to do one thing.
Yeah, but this is just the way that Corey's found that works for us.
Just one, yeah. So we're going to get exact width. And if the quilt, or the miniature in this case, is smaller than 30 inches in width, you're going to do the exact width of the fabric when your quilt, exact width of the quilt, and then 4.5 inches long. So to give you an example, this is a little piece that we're going to use for our sleeve.
So if you say if it's less than 30 inches.
Less than 30.
So what if it's more than 30 inches?
If it's more than 30, you're still going to do the exact width, but yours is going to be 8.5 inches long, or 8.5 inches wide in this case.
Okay.
So because we're doing a miniature, less than 30 inches in width, it's going to be whatever the exact width is by 4.5.
Okay, and over 30 inches.
Over 30 would be exact width by 8.5.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm guessing you're going to show us why that matters.
How big the sleeve comes out to be.
Okay.
If the quilt's smaller than 30 inches, that sleeve's going to be half the quilt at that point.
Oh, that's true.
So you want to make sure that the sleeve is proportionate to the quilt itself.
Gotcha.
Okay. In this instance, we are using a light colored kind of muslin fabric on this one.
So you can see it.
So you can see it.
Obviously, you would probably put red on there.
Strongly recommend that you use the same backing fabric for your sleeve.
Exactly.
This is just so you can see it on this instance, okay? So on this one, for this size, I've got 13.5 by 4.5 because it's smaller than 30. So I'll set this over. And what we're going to do is flip our piece over. And on the sides, the 4.5 inch sides here, so we got the one here and then the one here, okay? What we're going to start off by doing is fold one side in about 1/4 inch. That you can totally guess it. It does not have to be perfect.
Or you can measure it if you want to.
Or you can measure it. But when you're flying through these, you just want to get it done. So about 1/4 inch and press, and then fold it one more time about 1/4 inch and press. Okay? You're going to do that on both sides. You can use an iron, or if you have your Stitcher's Friend handy, you can just finger press it down with that. So we're going to do that side. I'm going to come to this other side here.
Or you should use the Stitcher Friend on the other side to show them what you're talking about.
So about 1/4 inch on that one. If I'm using the Stitcher's Friend, you just use the seam press tool side and just press it down. I'm going to turn it this way for me so I can go towards me. You just press it down towards you. And this is just a way to get a quick press in if you don't have an iron handy near you.
Okay.
So that's one, and then you'll fold it one more time in. And that's just covering up those raw edges so they don't unravel once it's being, hung on the quilt. If you're putting this in a show and it's traveling from show to show, you want to make sure that that quilt sleeve doesn't unravel.
Exactly. Okay.
Once that's folded twice and you have that done, you're going to do a straight stitch with your sewing machine right over each of these sides.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull this over to the machine real quick. You won't be able to see that on camera, but just a straight stitch with the sewing machine. And that's going to lock it down so you don't have to worry about it coming apart. So I'll flip that, and we'll do this one as well.
This is a really cute topper that you have here.
Oh, thanks. Something real simple and small and
Yeah,
easy.
just like a block,
Little
like a
crosshatch.
yeah, a crosshatch block or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so straight stitch down on both sides, just like that. Okay. Now what we want to do is fold wrong sides together in half,
Okay.
just like that. And you can come in with an iron, or you can just take your stitcher's friend really quickly. If you're doing it with your stitcher's friend, turn it towards you and just come down. Just like that. Okay. Open that back up, and now you've got middle of your sleeve right here.
Okay.
Fold each edge into that middle.
Okay.
Just like that. Now this is where I would definitely come in with an iron. I definitely want to have an iron for this section here. I want to fold this in and get that to match and press that right there in the center. Because these press lines will come back into play. You want these nice, pretty, you know, kind of like pant press lines, you know, when you have dress pants.
Yeah.
What are they called? Pleats? No, not a pleat. There's a word for it.
Something like that.
The press line. We're going to call it a press line. Come to the other side. Meet those in the middle as well.
Perfect.
And press. And this one, take your time with it. Get that extra heat. Use best press if you need to. Get a nice press line on that because you'll need those later. So press, 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 press. You can make a song out of it even.
I know. You could.
All the way through. Okay. Once you've got that done.
You could be press on, press off.
There you go. Look at those nice lines. Those are sharp lines on that. So you want to keep those. So once you've done that, you're going to open this back up, fold right sides together, and do a straight stitch right over that.
Okay.
Okay?
So if you have a longer binding, you could put pins in there, right? To kind of hold it in place.
If you want to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you can kind of just shift it as you go just to make sure that you're staying nice and straight. So you'll take that over to your machine, and you're going to straight stitch 1/4 inch seam allowance on that one. And you're just going to stitch down that section all the way. And it's going to go through here until we're done. Perfect. And that's what we're going to be left with.
Okay.
This little tube, per se. Okay?
Alrighty.
You're going to pull these. You're going to basically unravel this inside out. Okay?
Okay.
And you're going to end up, I already have one done. Look at that. I'm ready. You're going to end up like this.
Okay.
Okay? So you have that nice flat edge, but you see it kind of gives it a little bit of, I don't know if you can see it on camera, folks, but it has a little bit of a poof to it right here. That's where, you're going to want to keep that poof, but we have those nice press lines right here. That's why I said they really come back and, you know, come back to get us.
Okay.
So once we have that done, we'll grab our quilt.
Okay.
Make sure we have it right side up. Yeah, we do. Okay. We're going to kind of center this on the back here. Eyeball it if you want to, or measure both sides. And use your press line. Remember, you have extra fabric, but use that press line, and you're going to pin this on that press line to the back of your quilt. And you can go all the way through if you need to.
Yeah.
And you're going to do that all the way down, but it is very important that you stay on that press line. You want to keep that little poof because that's where that rod's going to need to go through. If you flatten out the poof, then there went the point of putting on a sleeve.
That's true.
So you're going to do this all the way across the top first here. And you'll see people say maybe, you know, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. I line it up with the binding, but you can come down that perfect 1/2 inch on all of it to make sure, you know, it's as straight as you want it to be.
Well, the binding does help, but yeah, you can definitely do that too. You could probably even put like if you're really concerned about it being totally straight, like make a chalk pencil or something and make a mark. Yeah.
You could. All right. So we've got that top one done. I'm using blue thread. Use the same color thread as your piece. I'm using blue so y'all can see it. But definitely use the same color as your piece.
Yeah, in case you're catching it late, he's putting this on so you can see it. Normally you would use your backing, same thing as use your backing for your hanger, and then the same color thread. You want it to all blend. He wants you to be able to see it on camera.
yeah, I don't think I would do this color sleeve with blue thread, and it might get you docked a few points.
Yeah, for sure.
If that's what you're going for. Now, kind of an easy way to get through, no pun intended, putting this on is using an easy threading needle.
Yeah, so we actually carry the John James ones. They're really nice to use.
Ones.
Self-threading, so that's what he's using.
They have a little slit in the top, and you just can pop your thread right in there. So just pop, and it's right in. Bada boom, bada bing.
That is a lot easier than
trying to get it through the eye of the needle. Yeah, just a little bit easier.
So in case you didn't see that.
So yeah, they just pop right in the top there. So then what you're going to come in here and do is you're just going to basically get in there and then blind stitch in the top of this. So it just becomes a process. You don't want to do a very long stitch because you want it to be able to hold the quilt nice and taut. So I'm going to keep these probably about 1/4 of an inch in distance when I'm stitching. But you're just going to work your way all the way across the top of this sleeve. And you're just going to keep going around and around and around. Again, using the same color thread as your sleeve. And you're just going to work right around that. Okay, so I've just finished that top section. So once you're done hand stitching this top portion down, you'll find your press line on the bottom. You'll straighten that section out, and then what you're going to do is pin there. Remember, you don't want to lose your poof. So you're going to pin down that press line.
Yeah, got to have that poof so you can put that rod there.
So you're just going to pin down this press line. That's the first one, and then you'll just work your way all the way down, making sure you're pinning the whole thing. And then you would start hand stitching this bottom section down. And while I was doing the top portion, Diana had made a good point. Do you want to talk about what you said?
Well, I was just saying to make sure that we tell them that it's very important to make sure when you're hand stitching it down that you only hand stitch into the backing. So you're pulling into the backing and out. You don't want to put the thread and needle all the way through the quilt, obviously, because then it would go into the top and then you would see those extra stitches on the front of the quilt.
Especially when you're using blue thread.
Especially when you're using blue thread, which is probably something that I would do my first time doing it. So I thought, pretty good tip. We need to make sure they understand to only pin into the backing.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and hand stitch this down, and then I'll meet you right back in just a second. Okay, so I've just finished off the bottom here. So what you would do after this is you would just stitch down both sides. And you can see I kind of pulled my pins out a little too early, didn't I? Shifted a little bit, but that's okay. It works for the sample. But you would pin down both sides, and then at that point you've got your no-show binding.
That's really cool.
Or
the
binding. No-show sleeve. The no-show binding would be nice too.
Yeah.
But that's the no-show sleeve for this one. So if you had a rod or something that it had to go into it, you can see that once we lift it up, there you go. It just hides right behind it.
Exactly. So the sleeve hides right behind it. And so, for instance, if you don't care if it's no-show, because some people do put the sleeve into the binding, then you could do it the way that we did this one, just so we had two different options to show out there.
This one we didn't pin the bottom, or I didn't stitch down the bottom portion of it. I just stitched the top right into the binding, so it hangs a little bit right above the binding.
Yeah, so if you're okay with it hanging above the binding, you can do it that way. Or if you wanted to do the no-show, then you want to do exactly the way that Corey just showed you how to do it.
Correct. And if you plan on putting your quilt or miniature into a show, you will want a no-show. You do not want it to hang up over the top.
Correct.
You want it to hide behind everything and just hang like that.
Good job. So if you guys have any questions about how he did that, or if you missed a step, definitely put the comments below. We'll get those answered for you.
Definitely. Alrighty, well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and we will see you for Good Morning LAQ.
Bye.